He has shot less than 70% from the free throw line. Kevin Durant is 85 plus. The brother is a marksman extraordinaire.
No
And when
question.
I look at it from that perspective, I just think offensively there are levels to this, and LeBron ain't on that level. It's no knock against LeBron. It speaks to the level of eliteness that Kevin Durant has. He's one player.
But the Laker team lose all these close games in the fourth quarter. We couldn't win.
Two voices from completely different sides of the basketball world actually agreed. And not just any two voices. Stephen A. Smith and Magic Johnson both landed on the same take about LeBron James. And the second that clip started circulating, fans didn't just react, they exploded. Because when people who usually disagree suddenly align on a criticism about LeBron, it hits differently. It feels bigger. It feels like something people can't just brush off. And that's exactly why this moment is trending the way it is right now, because it's not just what they said, it's who said it. Stephen A. has built his brand on bold emotional takes, while Magic comes from a legacy perspective, someone who understands greatness at the highest level. So when both of them point to the same flaw or concern about LeBron, fans don't know whether to take it seriously or push back even harder. And most of them chose to push back. You got to. I mean, how many times? Listen, like I told you before, we could joke around and disagree about the GOAT conversation between MJ and LeBron James. LeBron James is one of the greatest top 2, 3 players in the history of this damn game. He is that sensational. I feel sorry for him so many times when I see him kicking it out to three-point shooters and they can't make it. The conversation itself centered around something that has followed LeBron his entire career, his mentality in big moments. Not his talent, not his resume, not his longevity. Nobody is questioning those. But when it comes to that specific idea of being a killer, being the guy who takes over no matter what, that's where Stephen A. and Magic found common ground. And once that idea was put into the spotlight again, it triggered every debate you can imagine. Here's the part nobody is talking about. This isn't even a new criticism. This is one of the oldest debates in LeBron's career, but it keeps coming back because moments keep feeding it. Whether it's a viral clip, a late-game decision, or even body language during a possession, fans are constantly looking for evidence to either support or destroy that narrative. And when someone like Magic Johnson even slightly leans into that idea, it hits harder than when a regular analyst says it. I need to be one of the first people to make sure that I say that. LeBron James had never in his career been a third option until this year. Yet, he accepted it and was still the leader and the winner that he was. Stephen A. basically framed it in the way he always does. High energy, dramatic, straight to the point. He questioned whether LeBron always embraces those defining moments the same way other legends did. And then Magic, in a more calm but equally impactful way, echoed something similar. Not disrespect, not dismissal, but acknowledgement that LeBron's greatness comes in a different form than the players he's constantly compared to. And for some fans, that felt like a backhanded compliment. This is where it gets dangerous, because once that different kind of greatness conversation starts, fans immediately turn it into a comparison debate. And we all know where that leads. Michael Jordan gets brought up. Kobe Bryant gets brought up. Suddenly, it's not about LeBron being one of the greatest ever. It's about whether he's the greatest. And when you're in that conversation, every small critique gets magnified into something bigger. You know, Fogel is going to take some of this blame, right? They're going to point the finger at him. And this is what really bothers me, Molly and Stephen A. This season was never about winning. And the fans, they were not having it. You had one side immediately calling out Stephen A., saying he always finds a way to nitpick LeBron no matter what. Others were more shocked at Magic, because when someone from LeBron's own fraternity of legends speaks critically, it feels different. It doesn't feel like media noise anymore. It feels like insider perspective. That's why this moment hits so hard. Here's the part nobody is talking about. LeBron might be the only player in history where being too unselfish can be turned into a flaw. Think about that for a second. Most players get criticized for forcing shots, for being inefficient, for not trusting teammates. LeBron gets criticized for trusting his teammates too much. That's how unique his situation is. His basketball IQ pushes him to make the right play, But fans don't always want the right play. They want the dramatic one. In his very last game, possibly as a Laker, I don't think for 1 second he's retiring. He had 24 points and 44% shooting and 14 rebounds. 24-4 in his 23rd season for the top scorer in the history of basketball. Can't say enough about it. Got to give credit where credit is due. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They think the game is judged purely on results. But in reality, it's judged on perception just as much. LeBron can make the smartest play possible, but if it doesn't look like dominance, it gets questioned. That's the line he's been walking his entire career. And that's why comments from people like Stephen A. and Magic hit so hard. They tap into that perception. And let's be honest, part of the reason fans are mad is because they've heard this before. They've defended LeBron against this exact argument for years. They've pointed to his game winners, his playoff performances, his elimination games. They've built entire cases around why this narrative isn't fair. So when it comes back again, especially from voices like these, it feels like déjà vu. It feels like the conversation is stuck on repeat. But here's the twist. The fact that this debate still exists after everything LeBron has accomplished might actually say more about his impact than anything else. Because no other player is held to this kind of emotional standard. Nobody is asking whether other stars feel dominant enough. With LeBron, it's never just about stats or wins. It's about how those moments look, how they feel, how they compare to legends from different eras. This is where it gets even more complicated, because Magic Johnson isn't just any voice. He represents a generation of basketball where the superstar identity was tied closely to control and leadership in big moments. So when he talks about LeBron, he's not just analyzing him, he's comparing him to a different basketball philosophy. And that's where some of the disconnect comes from. Stephen A., on the other hand, amplifies that contrast. He takes that philosophical difference and turns it into a headline. That's what he does. That's why his voice carries so much weight in moments like this. When he says something, it doesn't stay quiet. It spreads. It becomes part of the larger conversation instantly. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Fans aren't just defending LeBron. They're defending their own beliefs about basketball. Because if LeBron's style is seen as lacking something, then everything they've argued about him for years gets challenged. That's why the reaction is so emotional. It's not just about him. It's about what he represents. And then you have the GOAT debate sitting in the background of all this, waiting to explode every time something like this happens. Because the moment someone questions LeBron's mentality, even slightly, it immediately becomes ammo for the other side. And that's exactly what happened here. Clips started getting compared. Quotes started getting pulled. The internet did what it always does. It turned one agreement into a full-blown argument. This is where it gets dangerous for LeBron's narrative, because moments like these stick, not because they're necessarily true, but because they're repeated. And the more they're repeated, the more they become part of how people remember things. That's just how modern sports conversations work. But at the same time, this entire situation also proves something else. LeBron is still the center of the basketball universe. Even at this stage of his career, everything he does, everything said about him, still drives the biggest conversations. That kind of relevance doesn't happen by accident. It happens because his career is that significant. So now the real question becomes this. If legends like Magic Johnson and media giants like Stephen A. Smith are both pointing to the same thing, is there something there that fans don't want to admit? Or is this just another example of LeBron being judged by standards no one else has to meet? Because one thing is clear, the debate isn't going anywhere. And the louder it gets, the more it defines how this era of basketball will be remembered.